Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel. And it's Saturday night, so that means we're talking about Star Trek. And we're doing, instead of cramming all of the two-parters into one episode, which kind of made us jump everywhere, we are going to talk about the first two-parter after the pilot of Star Trek Voyager called Basics. And Basics was the cliffhanger for season 2 and the start of season 3, and is also even beating out Unimatrix Zero, my least favorite uh, two-part episode of Voyager. Mostly because I hate Seska, but I just found that it kind of dragged a little bit. There were some good actiony bits to it, but I just found it kind of an annoying episode. And a quick synopsis is the Kazon basically trick Voyager into coming into their stronghold, and they take over the ship and kick the crew of Voyager off onto a planet. And the episode is about them surviving on the planet and Tom Paris saving the day, as he always does, because it's Tom Paris.
Because that's what he does.
Yes. So what do you guys think of the episode? I know, Skep, you haven't seen the entire series of Voyager, so it can't really be like your least favorite or most favorite, really. But what did you think of Basics on the whole? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Hammer. You have more to say than I do.
That's why I was going to get a second. I want you to go ahead and tell me what your ideas are, and I'll go after you.
Okay. There were some things that I liked about this.
Mm-hmm.
There were some like one-liners, some kind of asides and kind of dry, wry humor that I like, and there was a surprising amount of it. But mostly, what I found distracting was the crew being dumped on the planet. Was the writing and the plot that occurred on the planet and the way that it occurred. It made me think it was written by a 7th grader. It was so dumb and so hackneyed and obvious how it was going to, there was no imagination to it. They found a primitive tribe. They were cavemen. They were troglodytes, and they saved one of them, and they made peace, and they ended up friends, and they had to find food, and there were all kinds of, there were some continuity errors, like when they first go down there, they say, well, we have to divide up into teams. And then without missing a beat, she says, Alpha team, go this way, Beta team this way, Gamma team, Delta team this way, this way. They haven't divided into teams yet.
No.
So there's just some dumb stuff like that just was sloppy. It was poorly written. I thought it was poorly executed. The whole thing with saving the troglodyte woman from the river of lava was just plain stupid.
And how did they save the baby when they were so freaking backwards?
Because they had a methylatum thing in a little pouch of herbs to put under. That's why crystals heal. Anyway, so yes, it was dumb. It made me want to hurt people at times. The best scenes for me, and I was surprised at this because I don't really like the Doctor generally as a character, but I sort of liked him in this. He was deceptive. He was irritating, and it was right for this, and I thought he did. He added a lot to that, and I didn't even mind Suter, the sociopath.
Yes.
was a little bit overacted, but it was okay. You know that subplot was okay with me. The worst thing are these guys with the bad hair, the villains.
The Kazon, yeah.
Oh, the Kazon, and they, their their characters are paper thin. There's nothing to them. There's no backstory that's worth even talking about. They're they're either acting like psychos, or they're uh, just so dysfunctional among each other. You can't imagine that they ever developed any technology past a telephone. So anyway, those are a few of my thoughts about. Generally, I would give it a C minus minus as a overall Star Trek in my Star Trek pantheon. And I have not seen all of Star Trek Voyager. I have actually seen a lot of individual episodes and a couple of the two-part episodes. But I need to, it's stuff that I've only seen once, and I need to go back and view it again
Yeah.
before I come on and talk about it. But it is Star Trek. It happens out in space. Therefore, I love it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What do you think, Hammer?
Well, I think that Voyager was in that transition period where it was still trying to find its footing. And I think that accounts for a fair amount of the script screw ups, is because they wanted to give you an idea that time had passed to the point where people knew everything that they needed to do, but they didn't really impart that to the people watching the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of assumptions made, like the point that they weren't split into teams. Well, there are, we don't know enough about how Voyager itself was, how their components were put together, so that teams weren't assigned 2 years ago when you signed onto the ship. Oh, you signed to the ship. We're working in engineering. You're on Team 17.
Or
So when they
or
beamed
were
down,
they doing it by the shifts? Maybe gamma shift, delta shift.
I mean, like
yeah,
the watch section or something. Yeah,
yeah, we don't really know, but we should know.
Yes.
Well, my point in saying what I said about that, though, was, yeah, exactly. Why don't we know what is going on? So I really can't excuse it by the fact that it might have been called out some other place. You should have been reminded of that.
Yeah.
All it takes is half a second, a line out of somebody's mouth. And,
This really didn't have to be a two-parter.
No.
Is what it comes down to me. This could have easily been a one-parter. The Kazon take over the ship. They drop them off. They end up coming back, picking them up, and taking off again. That's really not a two-parter, as far as I'm concerned.
They extended that scene where Paris has gone back to get the Talaxians. They basically made that half of the second part.
Yeah.
And
this is the first time that Voyager lands, isn't it? I mean, did they land in Tattoo?
No.
So this makes basics.
They
the first time
couldn't
actually
land. They tried to land in Tattoo.
Right, but they never actually hit
But they never could
land on the planet.
So this was the first time it landed?
Yes.
First time it landed was basics. Yeah. So I'm going to try to find a couple of good things about it. The entire ship's landing was done with CGI, no models.
Mm.
First time.
Impressive. I thought it actually looked pretty good.
It did look good. I mean, the whole proper shading where the sun was, all that kind of stuff. The techniques of it all was really good. The concern you have, and the concern I have, of course, was the writing. The acting was a little goofy too. That whole first interaction with the native tribe.
Yeah, they could have done. They could have done this with the crew imprisoned in the hull of the starship and not gone down to the planet at all. They could have done this and done a psychological thriller.
I think the whole reason they didn't, and I think that was Suska's idea, was because she knew if they kept them on board, they would have no chance.
I see what you're saying.
Seska knew her former crew enough to know that they had to get them off of that ship. Otherwise, there would be no way of taking Voyager.
So, but Seska appeared to be killed in that episode.
Yes.
Okay, and her death is final?
There is a stupid holodeck episode that she shows up in, but she's a hologram.
Okay.
So yes, her death is final.
That's
thankfully.
Good. That's good. Yes. Done.
Well, she shows up when the ship breaks into different time periods too.
Yes.
That's not a holodeck, but
there is one episode that Chakotay travels in time, and she's there again. But that's like, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily count that.
There was a line that I really liked, and it was when the Vulcan says, "Well, no, I actually taught archery at the Vulcan Academy."
Oh yeah, when Tuvok's making the bow and Chakotay's like, "Well, thank you, but my people didn't use bows. We used spears." And he's like, "Well, that's nice. It's not for you."
It's not for you. The bow is mine. I taught archery for 3 years at the academy.
It's like, way to be racist, Chakotay.
Yeah, asshole. I got a kick out of that anyway. So
I felt, and the line that kind of bugs me because it's so linear.
Yeah.
Is when Janeway, and when they're trying to find food and Janeway is like turning over rocks and finds bugs.
Yes.
She goes, "If anyone balks at eating these, tell them it's an order from their captain."
Right.
It's like,
right.
Really?
Yeah.
Captain's orders, eat the bugs. Right. Like, seriously? Come on.
Yeah. And then the guy comes back, "Hey, we found these cucumbers." Yeah.
And eggs.
Yeah, eggs and cucumbers. Oh, we're in Fat City, you know.
Yeah.
Cucumbers, which have virtually no nutritional value at all.
Tell Neelix to hold off on the beetle stew.
that was almost like camp, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold off on the beetle stew. Yuck, 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 yuck. So.
And I think the reason I really, really enjoyed the subplot about Suitor is because I watched the episode that introduced Suitor before, like it's called The Meld.
Yeah.
And it's a really good episode. And the reason I like the subplot in this episode is because I've seen The Meld and Suitor's fight against his meditation that he's been learning from Tuvok, and the wish to protect the ship, and the fact that he realizes, I'm going to have to kill some people again. Yeah. And I've worked really hard to stop my impulses from killing people.
So he dies a heroic death.
Yes.
And I love that. And Janeway has a chance to have, a potentially great line. And she looks into the camera with her, as usual, expressionless face and says basically nothing.
Yeah, Tuvok was the one.
Yeah.
That...
I'll offer a Vulcan prayer, but, Janeway, as a captain, you're supposed to use that moment, to boost everybody's morale by remembering what a great thing this was that this guy did.
And especially since, like, he fell from grace in the eyes of so many people, like...
Absolutely. It's a redemption message, it's a heroism message, it's a morale message, and Janeway sits there and looks like, a cucumber.
All she says is, "Well done, Mr. Suitor."
Yeah.
That's it. She just says, "Well done" to his fucking corpse, and then they send him off out the airlock.
Yep. See you later.
That prayer from Tuvok was slightly more poignant, and he's the one who's not supposed to have emotion.
Right.
Like, but he's like, "I offer you a Vulcan prayer. I wish you the peace in death that you couldn't find in life."
Right.
And that's For a Vulcan, that's pretty heavy.
That is pretty heavy. But would it have killed Janeway to actually say something?
Or Chakotay. That was
Yeah.
one of his people.
Yes, great point. Great point. I didn't think of that. You're exactly right.
Like either Janeway or Chakotay should have said something. Like yes, he did a bad thing and he committed murder on the ship. However, he then saved the ship.
Right, and saved our ass.
And exactly.
Because we would have been blasted to pieces by the phasers if he hadn't pushed the button that overloaded the backup bank of power bank or whatever it was.
Yeah. Had he not done what needed to be done, that because Tom was trying to tell them what to do from secret subspace transmissions, so had he not done what he needed to do, then there would have been no ship.
Correct. So,
And okay, so what do you think of the way Seska acts around the around the Kazons? Because that makes no sense to me, and it never did in any of the episodes where you see Seska with the Kazon.
was she supposed to act like an abused woman?
Yes.
Because that's what I thought they were getting at, and I thought, you know, underneath all that makeup, she must be trying to bristle, but there's nothing that's coming across in terms of her emotions, at least nothing I could tell.
And I'm just sitting there going, why? Like this is bad writing in my opinion.
Yeah.
How could you write a Cardassian woman into such a subservient role?
Right, a Cardassian.
Like that made no sense to me.
Well, we know Cardassian males are very aggressive, but I don't. Do we know from DS9 or any other shows before that just how aggressive the women are?
I think there's only one episode, and it's again a Voyager episode. Do you remember Flesh and Blood?
Not off the top of my head, but if you mention what it's about,
it's the season 7 two-parter where Doc and Voyager find the holograms that they created for the Hirogen, and the Hirogen gave them basically humanity and sentience after they left, so that they would be better prey.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a Cardassian hologram that is a female.
Yeah, she was pretty soft, wasn't she?
She had her soft moments, but she was pretty sarcastic and pretty hard. Like she was. It took a while for her to come around, and
I don't think she seemed any tougher to me than your typical human, or.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we know very much about. I think the only other Cardassian woman I saw was the in DS9 where they, or was that Romulans with the intelligence who came over to look at the Defiant?
Well, Ducat's daughter.
Ducat's daughter, but she's half Bajoran.
She
seemed pretty soft. The Bajorans aren't.
Bajorans
aren't soft. They're freedom fighter kind of people.
Yeah, so. That's true. But they're also. I've noticed that Bajorans are either freedom fighters or very.
Or farmers.
The prophets tell me what to do, and I'll just do what the prophets say. And like, they're either very, very hardcore freedom fighters, or they're very, very devout, very, very monk-like.
Yeah, obedient to the religious. Her character didn't make any sense to me.
No, it didn't.
It just didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't figure out what she would have ever seen in a Kazon in the first place. How could a Kazon ever get over on anybody. What I couldn't even believe that the Kazons could have anything more sophisticated than a telephone. As I said, I
Or how could she have thought that she could have gotten home quite quicker?
yeah,
Because that was her whole thing, was she was angry at Janeway for destroying their array. And she kept saying, if this was a Cardassian ship, we would be home by now, in
yeah.
the episode where she defects. And it's like, how did you think that aligning yourselves with the Kazon would give you better alliances and power and the ability to get out of the Delta Quadrant faster?
What were you thinking?
Like, and she saw the way she saw the way their attitude towards women before she defected.
Yeah, they're like
In the way
Nazi
the
chauvinist guys.
Yeah, in the way that in the way they were speaking to Janeway, she saw that. And she was either stupid enough to think that they were just speaking to Janeway like that because she was the captain and she was
Yeah,
causing shit for them,
that,
or she was stupid enough to be like, I can change them.
I'm
Well,
surprised they had any women at all. I figured they would all be Kigtails, Kuzons going their own way.
Love it.
do we actually even see any
Kazon
female Kazons?
I didn't see any.
I don't think we ever see any. And what is on the Kazon's head? Because that's not hair,
I don't
I
know.
hope it's
Pincolo
not
calls
hair.
them Cabbage Patch dolls.
but it's solid. Whatever it is up there is solid. Is that like
Yeah,
some kind of bone structure, or is it like wax, or because it's
perhaps
solid?
maybe they're animated tumors.
That's an amusing thought.
Jeez, they're anyway. Yeah, that was another thing that really hurt this episode for me was anytime the Kazons were on screen, something like, you know, well, did you check to see if the shuttle trail, had two humans aboard? Well, no.
Yes, Seska knows exactly what to do, and they're all like, "Shut up, you stupid bitch!"
Right, yeah, exactly. That's said better than exactly what I was trying to get across. I don't understand why this is failing. I don't understand why that. Basically, they don't know shit. And as long as everything runs, they're fine. But they don't even have a beginning of a plan B. They can do no troubleshooting at all. I don't understand. Assholes.
or they're like, "There's some of these trace thorion emissions," and she's like, "That's an old Maquis trick," and
Yeah, right.
Maj Kala's like, "Why are you talking?"
Yeah, fooling the Federation tricorders. Shut up. Okay, I'm just saying. Could be somebody on board. Then you wouldn't be able to find one of the tricorders. Shut up.
Yeah. But then the weird part is at the end of the fucking episode when she's dead and the baby's crying,
Yeah,
he's like, no, Seska can't be dead. And he's like upset that she's dead. The baby's upset, and then he comes out and he's like, we surrender. And it's like, really? Seska's dead. Now you surrender because Seska's dead, but you wouldn't listen to a goddamn thing
Right.
she said to you earlier. Like, what the fuck?
Man, I just, too stupid to live. Some races need to just go to Dr. Darwin's hatch.
Yeah.
That's just evolutionary throwaway as far as I'm concerned. And they made the problem is that it made for a very poor villain. And you have to have a good villain in Star Trek.
It was a really shitty villain to start the series off with.
Yes. You think about some of the great villains. I'm not trying to shift this to other series, but some of the great villains in Next Generation or the original series, the Kazon can't hold a candle to some of the greats in Next Generation. Some of the villains in that. they can't even hold a candle to Gul Dukat.
No.
They can't hold a candle to even the worst members of the TNG. I find the Packlids to be infinitely more interesting than the Kazon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who
The
Hammer?
Packlids.
The Packlids.
Oh yeah.
We look for things to make us go.
Yes.
Make us strong or he dies. That's pretty freaking.
Yep.
We are not smart.
We are not smart. Yeah.
They were cool. I like the Packlids.
So does Pincalo. Pincalo likes them a lot, actually.
They're kind of strangely mellow.
We look.
I know this is off topic. I know this is off topic, but you know how Lore said that he was picked up by a Packlid ship in
Yeah.
the season? I would have loved to see that.
Yeah.
The Packlids and Lore. I would have loved to see that.
There's a combination that goes together, like pickles and ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
That just would have been a very interesting episode of Star Trek to watch.
Yeah, the Packlids. I like the Packlids. Anyway, back to basics.
What did you guys think about Tom Paris in this episode? I like Tom. I know some people think he's really just out over the top and annoying, and but I like Tom, and I think he had a really big character arc in season 2. And granted, part of that character arc was staged to bring out the saboteur. But I think in doing that staging, he actually realized that he does belong to Voyager, and he actually has friends and family now that he can't let down anymore because he's not on his own. And I think that's why, like, even though the it was dragged out, the scenes of him going to get the Talaxians and coming back and everything, you actually get the sense that Tom Paris is like actually worried about his ship and his crew and coming back for them. Where and just at the beginning of season 1, it was cool. I'm using this to get out of prison, and I'm getting I'm getting a pardon, and this is just a step on the way to that. And I think now you see that he's like, wait a minute, I actually care about these people.
I think that was a trope that never got carried over correctly. They had their TOS. The original series had their Chekhov and Sulu. Chekhov who showed up later.
Mhm.
So and they became kind of a popular part of the ship. So they figure, okay, well TNG will put Data and Wesley in there.
Yeah.
We'll put a kid and a robot. That ought to be first. We'll put a blind guy because nothing's better than a blind guy steering the ship.
Yeah.
And they moved Geordie down and put Wesley up there for that, and it worked there. So they thought, well, let's keep doing this in all Star Trek series. So we'll put Tom Paris in Voyager. We'll put Mayweather in Enterprise. I think they should have stopped at Voyager. I think they should have done a different type of role or something because the character wasn't that great and the actor's not that great. They
didn't mind Robert Duncan McNeil.
Nah. I met him in real life. I the only person in the Voyager crew that I've met that I didn't like.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't like him. He's very full of himself.
Does that color your perception of his performance?
I felt this way before I met him, but what it did was it solidified my opinion.
Yeah, confirmed it. Okay.
Yeah, it confirmed it because it just he never all the things that we find to be good about somebody who's running con and ops, he does not have. He doesn't have the cool head. He doesn't have the great idea. He doesn't have the things that the other crews had.
Yeah.
He didn't have the humor of Chekhov. He didn't have the insight of Data. He didn't have all the things that made the previous Conan Ops officers what they were. He had nothing. He was a pilot. That was it. He wasn't smart. He wasn't insightful. He wasn't talented. He could just steer really well.
Yeah.
He was a good flyer, and he could hold trivia in his head.
There's a lot
Now,
of.
this
I feel
was the guy who was dishonorably discharged from Starfleet.
Yes.
He went to prison or something.
He had a little bit of backstory, so he had that much. But there are a lot of roles in the bridge crew of Voyager that they could have just done without, and it would not have impacted the show at all.
Okay.
They could have done without him. Really, they could have made the first officer in charge of steering the ship, and they could have got rid of Harry, and they eventually did get rid of Jennifer Lean, Cass. They could have got rid of what's his face, the cook.
Oh, you didn't like Neelix?
It's not that I didn't like him. He wasn't key to anything.
He was a navigator, right, and morale officer.
Yeah.
Neelix wore a lot of hats.
Yeah, he was an interesting, and he had clown makeup, which I liked.
Yeah.
I think he was more helpful than not, like especially near the beginning of the series when he knew of the trade posts and planets and.
Yeah, how long did that last? Like 4 episodes before he didn't know anything anymore. You know,
3 seasons.
Till
the middle of season 3, and then he became more of a diplomat because he was actually not bad at being a diplomat.
Well, like from a human perspective, he was, but everyone else seemed to think he was okay.
Like he was like with the macrocosm episode where they go to visit the Tac, and Janeway makes the horrible misstep of putting her hands on her hips.
He served the point of Counselor Troy. That's all he really was.
Yeah, but he's better than Counselor Troy, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I would go 110% the opposite way.
No, he's better than Counselor Troy is. He's more approachable than Counselor Troy, for sure.
Skep, you want to weigh in on this controversy here?
I'm a better listener on this, probably.
In other words, no. Okay.
No.
He's Troy's better with kids, for sure.
Troy's whole point was that she would have people come to her office because she's a counselor. How could you be any less approachable than that?
But she's one of those counselors that, like, because some counselors you go to and you're like, wow, this is a really nice, genuine person. Yeah. And Counselor Troy you go to and you're like, is she being real with me, or is she just acting this way because how I'm feeling? And she's just like, she's always seemed very wishy-washy to me, and I don't like that, you know.
Yeah, I can't agree with you on almost any of that. She has a much better arc. The whole thing with Riker, she actually ends up becoming a bridge officer running the ship.
Well, now you're comparing Deanna Troy, with Neelix.
Yeah. Ancillary character, doesn't really have a pivotal role.
In terms of approachability, in terms of likability, approachability, genuineness, I would say that Neelix is so strange and quirky, it would put a lot of people off. Whereas Deanna Troy seems very welcoming and warm to me. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a man being taken in by a bosomy, good-looking woman. But she seems very warm and welcoming. You know, she the role that they wrote for her seems to be appropriate for somebody who you would sit down and share all your troubles with. I don't know. I really do get that feeling.
I'd rather have Guinan as my counselor than either one of those two, but hey.
She almost was.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, back to basics.
Yeah.
Back to basics. Anyway. what I just I can't I cannot deal with the the hokiness of the like I just can't get over the hokiness of the freaking Kazon. I
And
really can't.
I
They
can't
were
get
supposed to be Klingons, right?
I guess,
That
but
was the whole point.
they're like the worst Klingons in the universe. I mean, they're terrible at everything. They're dysfunctional among themselves. They do nothing but fight and bitch at each other. They bitch at everybody else. You wonder how they ever get anything done. Seriously. But but that wasn't the hokiest thing about this episode to me. To me, the hokiest thing about the episode was the stuff on the planet.
mm,
Going into the cave and the if you've ever done any caving, the idea of pulling down the ceiling to cause a cave in,
that's retarded.
that's insane. Yes, that's absolutely insane. That's just you know we'll pull the ceiling down even though there's this big monster who's been tromping through in and out of the cave. He hasn't been able to pull it down, with his slamming around, but we'll use sticks and we'll pull the ceiling down because reasons. No.
Or what did you think of Chakotay doing the freaking um
Saving the woman
saving the
in the
woman by
river of
with
lava.
with the talking? No, but not even that. It's the talking to the tribe, like the whole like I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna play archaeologist now.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, exactly.
it's all right. I'm friend. I'm
Yeah.
just like, come on, Chakotay.
Yeah.
I think most of the complaints I'm hearing are writing.
Yeah, I think it was just a badly written episode. I like I said, there were some action scenes that I liked. There were some scenes like between Doc and Seska that I liked. Um, Especially when he tells her that her baby's Kazon and not human Cardassian. And he's just so happy and he sounds so cheerful about it and she's like, Maj Cullen will be so pleased.
Yes. I like that scene too. No, the DNA is very specific. It's very different for humans.
Or can you lie? Well, I must learn how to deliver news in a particular way.
Sometimes I have
But
to soft pedal it. But
I could lie if you'd like me to. Like,
no, that's not what I meant. See, that was when she said, "No, that's not what I meant." That was a funny line. That to me was humorous.
yeah,
In kind of a more than one way. Uh, it was sly, and I like that kind of humor.
I do too. I do too. But it what got really annoying, even though I did enjoy the action scene in those scenes, is Paris with the I don't have time for this. That
Oh
was
yeah, yeah,
funny the first time,
yeah.
but after the sixth time where he's like, I told you I don't have time for this, we're like, okay, we get it.
He blows up the ship, and he says, "I told you, I don't have time for this."
Yeah.
You know, it's
It's like,
I know what they're trying to do. They overdid it.
yeah,
Yeah. I was. But generally, I sort of like the Tom Paris character.
I do too.
I don't. Uh, I may not know him well enough to have found him superficial. The interesting thing, just to step back just a little bit from it, that this has done is this has made me want to watch a lot more of Voyager.
Mm.
And DS9 did that too. And I mean, I went hog wild. I watched like 3 seasons of DS9 and like a marathon session. My wife comes up, you really ought to take a shower. It's been a few days. and and I think I'm going to do that with Voyager too, because these are characters that now I feel like I want to know better. Some of them, anyway. Janeway, I'm never going to like Captain Janeway. I'm just not going to like her. I don't like her. She is emotionless, expressionless. She has all the bad characteristics of Kirk,
We
and
should go through all the characters in the show and give a thumbs up and thumbs down each one of them.
Yeah.
okay,
We
yeah,
start
yeah,
start
that's a
with
good idea.
Janeway.
Thumbs down, killer.
Yeah, thumbs down, really.
I would have had her die in the first episode.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
You
get a new
really don't
captain.
like her.
Get a new captain. I do not like Janeway.
You should have seen the previous captain. Believe me, you would have liked
fucking
Janeway.
annoying. Pardon me?
You should have seen the previous captain before Janeway. You'd be happy with Janeway if you would have saw Rene
Who,
Bujold.
Picard?
No,
Picard was good.
no, Bujold, the actor who played Janeway before.
Oh, Genevieve Bujold?
Yeah, before Kate. What the hell's her name?
Kate Mulgrew.
I have seen Genevieve Bujold
in that part.
No, in another part. I saw her in a Broadway play.
Yeah, believe me,
many years ago.
You would have preferred Mulgrew in the part if you compare the two performances.
Oh, I don't know. Genevieve.
Did you ever see Space 1999?
Yes, I did. As a matter of fact.
Remember the female lead in that? Very pretty, blonde.
Barbara Banner.
Barbara Benwick.
Banner. I thought it was Barbara Banner.
You notice how
Banner, something like that.
You notice how that character is very smooth and very soft and very compliant. That was the difference between her and Mulgrew. Mulgrew is no. I'm the captain. We're going to do it my way, and that's the way it is. This other lady, the other lady, the one that was part of the role before they fired her.
Yeah,
was very laid back and soft, and was definitely not a captain.
I cannot imagine anyone other than Kate Mulgrew delivering the line when in season 1, episode 6, when they go inside that creature, and Neelix comes to the ready room, and he's like, "You mean we're going back in?" She's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Well, I think that's whatever." He gives her a piece of his mind, and she goes, "Well, that's tough shit, basically," and dismissed.
You're dismissed.
Yeah, you can get in.
And then she goes, and he just stands there, and then she goes, "That's Starfleet for get out."
Get out. Yeah.
It's like, oh,
a great line.
Damn, Janeway. I love that line.
The pieces of Mulgrew that you've gotten so far are the annoying parts at the beginning of the show, but as she goes on, you're gonna think she's awesome.
Yeah, when you get to
I've
the
probably
year of
seen
hell,
20 or 30 episodes of Voyager. I mean, I've seen much more than I'm acting like. But
when you get to the year of hell,
I'm just annoyed by her.
When you get to the year of hell, which is
that'd be good.
two more two-parters away from, that's what we're going to be discussing in a few weeks. You're gonna like Janeway.
Okay.
Well, you'll like her more than you do now.
Yeah, you'll like her more.
I'll just like her less.
Yeah, you'll. Chakotay. What do you guys think of Chakotay? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Pretentious and irritating. But
written poorly, but played well.
Yeah,
played well
as it could. Yeah.
Yes, the actor does a lot with. I agree completely.
Yeah.
The actor does a lot with a poorly written role.
He does. Robert Beltran does a good job with what little he has.
Yeah, I was happy to see him, and I was disappointed when he opened his mouth. It was too bad.
Yeah, I would agree. He's badly written, but well played. What do you guys think about B'Elanna?
Love B'Elanna.
Yeah.
Want to marry B'Elanna. She's awesome. Yeah. I don't think it's maybe played to a Klingon side a little too much, but yeah. That episode where she becomes fully human.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
That was pretty cool. I like that.
I gotta see that.
It's called Faces.
Faces.
Yeah, that's episode 14 of season 1.
I'm gonna binge.
You haven't run into those guys who have the phage, right? It's a disease. You don't know what I'm talking about, so you haven't run into it. What were they called? What was the name of the race?
The Vidians.
The Vidians. You haven't run into the Vidians yet. That's a great storyline. You're gonna love that.
See, would have been an amazing villain to focus more on.
Oh yeah, the Voyager would be outclassed at every turn with them.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting. That would be the Borg for them, which
Yeah.
actually they ended up running into the Borg too. But um, so we did Mulgrew and Bertrand. Who's next?
Um,
Okay, and we did
and we did
engineering. Right.
we did
Did we do
Taurus.
Neelix?
No, not yet. But I'm starting with the bridge people.
Yeah,
Oh,
go by
okay.
rank.
I guess you guys don't like Harry. I don't mind Harry. I like Harry.
I don't like Harry.
I mean, he's not my favorite.
At least you
but
got rid of
I
him and
don't.
kept Kess.
Oh, see, Kess got annoying
Yeah,
to
maybe it
me.
was
She
because she
was.
was a little hottie that I liked her more. But near the end when she started having her telekinetic powers, oh my god, that would have been a great line to have for the next 3 or 4 years, is have her develop her telekinesis and shit like that.
The only time I thought Kess was cool was when she got possessed by that warlord dude.
Oh yeah, but that point where she goes to she says he 709 is dying on the table and he says, I need this spray, and she just turns and looks and it flies across the room and she catches it in her hand.
Mm.
And then she kind of rolls it around in her hand and looks at it like, what are you doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That whole sequence of events is just like, oh, it's like perfectly acted, perfectly written. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. It's
Or
exactly how someone would react if that happened to them.
Yeah. Or I do like when she telekinetically separates an implant from 7 of 9's
Yeah, she dissolves the
skull.
implant in her skull. I'm telling you that if she would have stayed in the show and kept that storyline where she becomes a telekinetic powerhouse,
Mhm.
can you imagine how that would work in with the Borg and all these other people they run into? How she could just, to certain races or certain sequences, she can apply her power and turn the fight.
Mhm.
That would have been just a boondoggle for that show if she would have stayed. But they got rid of her and kept Harry. They were going to lose one of them. It was one
Yeah.
or the other, and I think they picked the wrong one. And she was a little hottie too. I like that. She's not one anymore, but she was then.
She's gone crazy apparently.
Yeah, she's been arrested. She gained 200 pounds. All kinds of crazy stuff.
Who else was on the bridge?
Tuvok.
We had Tuvok. I love Tuvok.
Nope.
He's a hard character to love, but I love
not for
Tuvok.
me. I like.
And Tim Russ did a great job in not stealing Nimoy. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Like, he was his own Vulcan.
Yes.
Tim Russ did a very good job with Tuvok, I think.
I'm going to be a dissenting opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man was a piece of cardboard.
He was cardboard?
He's a piece of cardboard. You could just put a cardboard piece up there and put a voiceover. Man, did nothing, said nothing.
Man, I thought he said stuff with gravitas. I really felt the guy.
The only time I ever thought that was cool was at the end when Neelix was leaving, and he puts his foot out and moves it back and forth, i.e., dancing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only point where I thought he was poignant. Never in the show anywhere else did I think he was particularly anything but very and condescending and robotic and plain and didn't have anything for him at all. He could have not been there. I would never have noticed.
I don't know. I really liked Tuvok. I liked his dynamic.
Wish Polly was here.
He has a wonderful voice.
He does.
And when he says something, I just got the feeling that he really meant it. That was coming from a very profound place.
I like the dynamic between him and Neelix.
Yeah, what? Neelix liked him, and he didn't like Neelix.
And Neelix was always like, "I will get you to smile before, like I'll get you to laugh. I'll get you to like."
And then the rest of the entire time, Tuvok did nothing but treat him like shit.
He did, but
not in a playful way because there was no emotions. Yeah. Give me 3 lines that Tuvok said that were just outstanding. Not Tuvix, but the actual Tuvok.
When he and Neelix get stuck on that elevator car, in season 3 when they're trying to
Hmm.
help, and him and Neelix have it out, right? Eventually, because Neelix is like, "You don't like me," all this stuff. But then Neelix gets attacked by one of the other
That was a great performance by Neelix.
occupants, and he gets a concussion. But he's the only one who can fly the thing.
Mm.
And he's at first he's like, I can't, like, I can't keep my head up. I can't fly this. Tuvok, I'm going to have to teach you how to fly this.
Any quote that Tuvok made that's been profound to you at all?
When Tuvok goes and he tells him, do it for Alexia. He actually has to, when he knows enough to be like, okay, I like, he's like, you have to do this for your sister, even though he himself as a Vulcan would think that that's a stupid reason.
Okay.
He knew enough to say, like, listen, like, do it for your sister. You gotta pull yourself together. Or in Year of Hell, when him and Janeway are saying goodbye to each other. Um, After he makes that quip about Voyager being a ship, um, yes, it's a normal Vulcan quote when he says, "Live long and prosper," but the way he says it to Janeway, you you actually, even though he's a Vulcan, you can feel that he's like, this is somebody that is my friend, and I may not see her again.
So we've covered the entire bridge crew, right?
I believe we have.
Who are we not?
Let's
Who are we not
see.
picking? The Doctor, I guess, right?
Doc, yeah, I love Doc.
Everybody loves Doc. Do you love Doc?
Yeah, I like Doc.
Doc's awesome.
He can be irritating sometimes, but once you realize what he is, what he's doing with his part, you realize that he really was very cleverly played. It was a very
Yeah.
cleverly played part.
Yeah.
Very well
And
done.
he arcs very highly in starting in season 3.
Even when he is annoying, Janeway just gives him a glance and he just shuts up and walks away. It's a great reaction.
Yes.
Your human implants are thriving, and thriving they are. And he just like puts the thing up, walks away. It's like, okay, even better than Data, really.
Yes, because Data, you had to still tell to shut
Thank you, Mr.
up.
Data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Data. In other words, shut up.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got, who
We
else
covered
do we?
Neelix, so I guess I mentioned Cass. I like Cass.
Yeah, I don't dislike Cass. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't find her an abhorrent character,
Mhm.
but I just didn't love her.
Okay.
There were some things that she did that I found were awesome, like in Tattoo when she fucked with Doc's that he programmed to experience a virus.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be a proper virus if it only went according to plan. So she screwed around with it without telling him.
What do you think, Skep? Cass?
Don't know her well enough, from this, and
Mhm.
to inoffensive so far.
Wonder how tall the actress was, because the actress was really short, wasn't she? I mean, she was supposed to be like a child. Cass from Voyager. She was played by Jennifer Lien. Was the actress's name?
Yeah.
And she's 5'3", so yeah, she was on the short side.
She's a little bit short.
So all we have left is 7, right? Is that the last person we're on?
7. Yeah, because there's not really any other main characters, really.
I can't think of anybody. There was no 10 forward. There was no, I guess, the Vulcan from engineering.
Oh, Tabor.
Tabor.
he was really weird. He was a Vulcan that was like eager. It didn't make much sense to me.
Don't really see him going off to study the Kolinar or anything.
No, but you see him in season 3 go through Ponfar.
Oh, he goes through Porn Star?
He does.
Why are you calling him Tabor? His name was Vorik.
Was it Vorik?
Yeah.
Tabor was a different Vulcan.
I don't know who Tabor is. I know who Vorik is. He's the engineer.
Vorik, that's right. There was, because the guy who plays Vorik had a quick cameo in a different series as a Vulcan named Tabor. That's why.
That's right. Because I got the name from.
It was Alexander Enberg was the guy's name, but I don't remember a Tabor.
Tabor was a Bajoran Maquis member who served aboard the USS Voyager during its 7-year stay in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, Tabor was the one that freaked out about the Cardassian holographic doctor, I believe.
Oh,
I believe he was the Bajoran crewman.
I remember Vorik because he had sex with B'Elanna.
Well, he tried.
Well, tried, but did kind of a little bit because he got into her head.
He got into her head, but he didn't actually get to physically do it. That was Tom's job.
Yeah, it was Tom's job. But to go back to 7, have you gotten far enough to deal with 7 of 9, Skep?
Oh yeah, I love 7 of 9. I absolutely love 7 of 9. End of story.
I think she was executed. I don't think you can find flaw with anything about her execution. There was a proper actress with the proper size. She was tall, kind of imposing, so she fit for the Borg. Mm-hmm. She was a great actress. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's actually
every time she's on screen, she's interesting to me.
Yeah, and she was written well and acted well. Written well in the respect that they had a chance to make her the blonde boobs on the show, and they did not do that. Not only did they not make her the blonde boobs in the show, but they didn't even make her a sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm. No, not
they
at
made
all.
her a controversial character.
Yeah,
she went back and forth with Janeway to the point of saying that you have failed to make me the person you want me to be. And we were hoping, everybody in the show was hoping that she would turn out to be Annika Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
And she never did.
That's what Janeway was trying for.
Right. And that never happened. And that was a great piece of writing that never happened.
Yeah.
She left the show under her own power. She wanted to be written out of the show.
7 never got written out of the show.
No.
She was there
7 of 9. What am I thinking of?
Jennifer Leanne was written out of the show. Cass was written out of the show. That's right. You're right. I'm sorry. Got it wrong. Laura wrong. So yeah. I mean, I think probably thinking about this, next to Janeway, probably the best character on the show. If I were to pick the top 3, yeah, it would be Janeway first, 7 of 9 second, and B'Elanna third, in that order. So, do you have an order? Top 3 characters, best written, best acted.
That's hard.
7 of 9's my favorite, but I don't know that I have 2 more to rank.
Doc is my favorite.
Oh,
then
I like
7
Doc
of
too.
9.
Yep.
And
those I picked all girls.
Yeah. Doc, 7 of 9, and then Janeway. I like how Kate Mulgrew executes Janeway, especially in the later seasons.
I still think that whole thing with when 7-9 comes on board and tries to take over the ship, the second part of Scorpion.
Yeah.
And Janeway calls the doctor and says and talks to Janeway and says all she says is Scorpion.
Yeah.
The look on her face and the way she says it is just like, what's going to happen now? You know.
Or one of the really good episodes, Skep, for you that might help you like Janeway a bit more, is called The Thaw.
Okay.
It's in season 2.
Okay.
It's I think episode 23.
Do you have access to the entire thing, Skep?
I do. The
Okay.
whole thing.
All right.
And
I can binge this stuff until my skin begins to slough from my body.
and it's a really near the end you're gonna see what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna binge this stuff. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm now interested enough. I'm more interested
Keep in
in
touch
this.
while you do it, because I want to hear your opinions as you go along.
I will. I absolutely will. Absolutely will. We'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit tonight.
Guess sucked, says Cult of Krill.
I like Cass. She's just
Nice.
a little.
Nice.
I hated. There's one episode that I just wish and it's one of my favorite episodes of season 2, but I just wish that scene had been written and acted differently. And it's Persistence of Vision. It's at the end of Persistence of Vision when Kess is in the engineering and she's like staring at Neelix and like using telekinesis or whatever, and she's screaming. And the scream that comes out of it's awful. It's just terrible, and I can't stand it. And it ruins that whole scene for me. It's like
Yeah, her scream was weird.
it
Something
was weird.
about her. I was like, oh, geez.
She sounded like a creature. It was
Yeah, she didn't sound human, but maybe that was the point. She wasn't supposed to sound
maybe.
human.
That's true, because she's not.
So, anyway.
Oh, we've got 15 minutes left. What's your final thoughts on Basics?
An unnecessary two-parter. Fairly boring with some good technical filming, but that's about it.
For my part, I would agree with what Hammer said. I would add that, man, I would have cut out the whole trip to the planet, and I would have found another way to engineer the captivity, because that trip to the planet and the interfacing with the zombie-looking caveman troglodyte people, was just straight out of Stereotype magazine. And maybe because I'm an anthropologist by training, I just, there were so many things wrong. You just shake your head and you just go, this had to be done by Hollywood writers who probably had a high school education and a cartoon vision of what primitive people were actually like. And there was no attempt even to make not just realism, but not even verisimilitude, not even the appearance of realism.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was lazy, it was sloppy, it was poorly executed, and I think they should be embarrassed. In fact, I think the writers should have committed suicide. that may be going too far right there, but they should have at least cut themselves. Certainly.
I found it kind of a boring episode. There are definitely much better episodes and two-parters in the series. I definitely, I think it definitely shouldn't have been a two-parter. There was just not enough there, and it felt very stretched out. I honestly can't wait to talk about Future's End, because that's a good two-parter. We're not actually. I should put out an announcement, say that I won't be doing a Star Trek stream next weekend because Pinkalo and I are heading up to my family's cottage, and there's no internet up there. So that'll be.
When you say up, are you headed north in Canada?
Yeah, about an hour.
This time of year?
Yeah.
I mean, You're above the Arctic Circle, right?
No,
You're not.
no,
I mean, but you're really close.
not even close.
Not really.
It would take probably 5 days to get there
Really.
if you drove.
The problem is you can drive there from where you are. That's a problem.
No, we're just going about an hour and a half north. And we're going now because...
So you're going a third of the way to the Arctic Circle. No problem.
And we're going now because it hasn't snowed a lot yet.
It hasn't snowed a lot. Texas.
So we won't have to dig ourselves in or out.
Very good. Going up to the cottage for a nice late fall snow snack. My God. Be careful.
Oh, we will.
Just be careful. Have a plan.
We'll be
B
careful.
And a plan
We've
C
got to go
and
to
a plan
the.
D.
I'll make sure to carry my cane when I go to the outhouse.
Well, just.
Yes, we have an outhouse. We don't have plumbing.
You don't have plumbing?
Wow.
We have electricity, so we can cook and warm the cottage, and that's about it.
No, yes, just make sure that you can't get disoriented out there. And
oh no, it's easy.
Okay. It's winter storms can make easy hard.
Yep. No, there's not supposed to be any winter storms. We also have to go and make sure that everything's ready for when the winter gets bad, because nobody was able. We usually go up for Thanksgiving to just close up and everything for the winter months. But everybody was sick on Thanksgiving, and nobody's been able to get up there since. So we're it's a twofold operation. We're going to close up for the winter and basically have some time without the kids because they were sick back to back with two different things.
Very good.
And stayed home from school for a long time. So we got people to look after the kids, and
good. That'll be fun. That'll be nice.
Yeah. But then the weekend after that, we're gonna do Future's End, which is season 3, episodes 8 and 9.
Okay.
Of Voyager. That's a good episode.
Future's End.
I like Future's End.
Maybe I will have seen an entire season of Voyager by then, and I'll be much more up on the characters, have much better opinions. I'm sorry I'm so lame on this. I mean, I'm pretty good on original series and somewhat good on Next Generation, but I'm lame on Voyager because I just never liked Janeway. Never got into it.
Yeah.
So I'll take a run at it for the team.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything, and I know that Hammer needs to go and get ready for Minions.
Yeah, you and I are both going to be on. Or is that okay for me to be on, Hammer? I didn't ask you if it was okay.
Where did Hammer go? I guess Hammer.
No,
Skep was asking if he.
Yeah, my microphone was on mute.
Oh.
My girlfriend came in to give me a kiss goodnight, so I put it on for a second. Yeah, I'll send you a link, buddy. No problem.
All right, cool.
I'm gonna go play some more video games because I wanted to.
Do your thing. Have fun.
Well, guys, thank you guys for coming and listening to us talk. We'll be doing Blind in the Special tomorrow night on the Blind in the Special channel. I've shared the link on Twitter and in the Discord. I will also really quickly throw it in here in chat. I'm just doing the gaming over there now, just to keep everything less cluttered. Um, because that way I can keep the coffee streams and the Star Trek streams kind of organized, and then do gaming stuff, so that way if I want to do more gaming during the week, I don't have like random gaming streams popping up. So um, we've got the Blind and the Special channel that I am trying to find right now in my subscriptions. But anyway, thank you so much for coming out. I found it, thank God. I was like, I can't keep talking. I don't know what to say. Thank you to Skep and Hammer for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
Polly missed a good time.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Yeah.
And we will see everybody tomorrow over on the Blind and the Special. And I hope everyone has a good night. Pop over to Minions of the Zoo to have a listen over there as well. It's a good group of people. They start in about 15 minutes. And there is the link to the Blind and the Special channel. So I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you guys for coming out. Thanks to Skep and Hammer. And we'll see everyone a different time.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.